All right, John.
Thank you, Dave. Hi, everyone. So I have to say right off, I have a certain amount of naiveness. I'm kind of naive for a lot of these things. A lot of this old growth stuff is very new to me. I'm a fish biologist and river scientist, and so I kind of think and spend a lot of time in valleys and not up on top of mountaintops and things. I thought I had a different slide first. So what I'm going to talk about today, just some quick objectives. This is an old growth conference, so I'm going to talk about some locations of where there's old growth on this place called the Sunapee Ridge. A lot of this was previously not known, so I kind of feel kind of cool that I've helped been part of learning about this and documenting it. And then also some impacts, I'll guide you through that, of the 1938 hurricane and the 47 fire. And then that last bullet, actually, I'm not going to talk that much about, but I will show some photos. So our younger son, Owen, got me into hiking and loving mountains. Dave is looking at that, trying to figure out where it is. He knows where it is in the White Mountain National Forest, the northern presidentials. And so at one point he got me, and also my friendship with Sue and Steve Russell from Friends of Mount Sunapee. In our town of Newbury, New Hampshire, they're going to play this. If you haven't seen this, please go see it. This is such a wonderful film, about 30 minutes long, I think, about old growth forest in Mount Sunapee State Park. And of course, as I think a lot of us knew Chris, I will say I spoke with him one time. That was all the time I ever got to spend with him, and thought so highly of him. A bunch of emails back and forth. When he was gone, it was like, who's going to go up there on this Sunapee Ridge and document this stuff? So I said, well, maybe I can be part of that. I have a bunch of cameras up there, so I always like to put bobcats, moose. It's like a 28-inch red spruce behind the moose here. It's probably doing a selfie, And then I get a lot like this because bears are very curious. So my methods in doing all this, a lot of hiking. I have an ankle injury, a knee injury. I've been hurt up there a couple times before. I got an expert, I'll talk about that in a little bit, to go up there with me because, like I said, I don't know this stuff. I had been walking past these big yellow birches, and then when someone saw a picture of it, and they're like, "Wow, these are huge! This is an old growth forest." I was like, "Really?" That's how naive I was about this. I'll show some of the old aerial photographs from before and after the hurricane and fire, some online ones, some tree age data, just one little thing. And then I'm going to integrate all that into sort of a story for us today. So where are we? We are right up here, Ripton. So the Sunapee Ridge is sort of south central western New Hampshire. We live 4 miles from the trailhead to it. If you zoom in on it, and I'm going to point this out, this is Lake Solitude or Solitude Lake, depending on what you want to call it, Lucia's Lookout. Who's named after Lucia Kittredge, who helped rebuild the trail there after all this hurricane and stuff. It was a trail from a long time ago. And this is the ridge. So the topographic map is very steep. That's the big thing I want you to see from this. Oh, and because it's so steep, it's really hard and expensive to get onto the right, like a lot of old growth in the east and the west. It's hard to get there. And so that's why I think a lot of this hasn't been cut. The various colors are Mount Sunapee State Park, Pillsbury State Park, and then a bunch of conserved land. The state holds the easements on it. Society for Protection of New Hampshire Forest owns an easement on 1 or 2 of those. So the Lake Solitude about here, going down to, I can't quite see it, but where Lucia's Lookout is. It's about a 3-mile part of this ridge. This is a mess because it's all my hiking trails just for 2024. So I've done 5 times more hikes than what you see here. And every little marker is a photo or notes using the Gaia app. So 1938, the hurricane, I'm guessing a lot of you already know this. Again, it was new to me, but it took out, especially on the eastern side of ridges and hillsides, a lot of white pine because of understanding that was a lot of what was growing back in the 30s. Up in the White Mountains, this is on a ridge, basically it laid down trees all in the same direction, and that's going to be an important point in a minute. And then, of course, there's that much stuff laying on the ground. People were, rightly so worried about fire. So this is actually from Forest Service, and they're spraying. I don't know exactly where this is, but they were trying to preclude big forest fires that might have happened. So in 47, there was a fire. Here's that same topographic map, Lake Solitude. There was a fire that started from a lightning strike The bus driver on the overnight bus happened to see it driving down Route 103 and called it in. And that fire generally went sort of in these directions. And I'm going to point this out here as it came down here and some other slides too. What's really cool is there's a guy in our town. He retired in 2020 after 75 years in the fire department, Mike Croto, and he's 94. He'll be 95 in another 2 or 3 months, and he sat down with me twice and talked to me. He actually fought the fire at 17 down in this area and was able to save a couple houses, which is pretty cool. The only photo I've ever found of this fire is from a Dartmouth publication, like an annual review, something like that. This is on the west side of the mountains, and it's hard to see. That's the best resolution photo I have of it. This was taken from a woman who lives here. She was 8 when this fire happened. It's from the 50s. And this is where a finger, I'm going to show that later too, of that fire extended down. And again, the firefighters, including the 17-year-old, helped stop it. It's a little hard to see, but this whole ridge was completely burned off. I mean, not a stick left. Rick Vanderpool, if any of you know, I see little nodding, great guy. He went up there with me in December 2 years ago and started pointing at things like, this spruce tree is probably 200 years old. And I thought he was crazy. But if you know Rick, he's not crazy. He's incredibly knowledgeable. So I got a bunch of aerial photos. This is just a photo of a photo from 1943. And so I could zoom in, and you can't really tell, on a couple of these. And what I did is I took, with my phone, great piece of technology, 12 photos of each one of these 3 by 3 foot, and was able to, basically digitize them. And so this is Lake Solitude. This is part of that 3 miles, 1942, and then I could get it from 53 too, also. Oops. So we're going to zoom in to this spot. So you see these little fingers here? Can you see that okay? So they're all in a east-west formation. So that's from the hurricane. The hurricane knocked those trees and just flattened down. And this is all spruce, by the way, on this part of the ridge. So if you overlay the 1953 photos on it, if you go back and forth, you can see all of this is burned, like burned down to rock. And it's hard to see, but there's a little snaky-like feature right there. It's like, I call it the whale's back. It's a little thing the trail goes on. And I was able to, geo-reference those in Google Earth. And put those together. So eBay's great. You can find any postcard in the world on eBay, and this is just a snapshot of that. These were hand-colored in New Hampshire back in the 30s. And there's what I can see in here, maybe hard for you to see, is there's a lot of big, big yellow birches. A couple years later, here's another photo. This is looking at Lake Solitude, by the way, and there's big birches. But at this point, they have no leaves on top of them. They've all gotten blown off during that hurricane. And same thing here. It's a little crisper. You can see them. And again, it might be hard to see, but this whole area, the forest was just flattened. And I walk through this when I'm up there on the trail, and it is a very young, very dynamic, very ice-driven forest. The Natural Heritage Bureau folks in New Hampshire were crazy enough, or gullible enough, to give me an increment borer. And 6 months ago, I had never heard the words increment borer. So, but I like this photo because you can actually count the rings on this. This is on an 8-inch spruce, probably the biggest spruce in the area that burned completely. It's 57 years old. So it could be a little older because, I did it at this height. But this is one of the ways that I was able to confirm, yes, these trees are very young. So a couple lines of evidence: aerial photographs, direct observations, tree ring data. I call this the fire spruce because this spruce appears to have some kind of fire damage on it. Again, I'm not an expert, but other people are telling me that looks like fire damage. When you line this up on the map, it is right on the edge of where that fire really took out the forest. And then this is a core that I took out of it. And I love spruce. I hate yellow birch for reading. I've learned very quickly. But spruce, you can you can read them by naked eye. So this thing was interesting in that if you go back, for about a 20-year period starting in 1939. Those rings are really, really, really tight. I mean, there's like 20 years in like 3/4 of an inch. So the tree was growing really slowly. And if you go to look at that tree now, there's this ziggle-zaggle, as my mom would call it. There's clear damage up about 20, 25 feet. So I think that hurricane probably took a lot of that top off. Maybe the fire injured it, and it took like 20 more years to start growing again. These are just some quick photos of what it looks like out there. The biggest of these is like 4 or 5 inches in diameter. So how many? 78 years later, after this fire, these trees are growing back very slowly. It's beautiful in winter, in part because no one else goes up there, and so I get the whole place to myself. But you got to go through 2 feet of snow a lot of times. Some of the older spruces forest is kind of like this, and what I've learned is there's a great diversity. Old growth spruce forest is sometimes it's just a bare ground underneath full of spruce needles. Sometimes it's ferns. Sometimes it's an undergrowth of white birch and little yellow birches and a lot of fir, and that's where all the moose are hanging out. Is that my 5 or 1? 5. If you go up to the areas of hardwoods or deciduous trees where the areas seem to completely burn, they've come back in some areas as beech, and in some areas with things like cherry, which is kind of cool. And actually, there's a neat red oak forest up there too. But it's very obvious now that I know a little bit more. When I'm walking through the forest, I'm like, oh, now I get it. This is a very young forest and stuff like that. Just some big yellow birches. I'm going to go through a bunch of older trees now. And if anyone attended the workshop yesterday, the tree measurement workshop, did anyone go to that, right? So did you hear about root flare? Is actually a new term for me. Where do you measure this thing? This root is like 25 feet long, and it's like 36 inches in diameter, even 10 feet from the trunk of that tree. So maybe this is the champion tall tree. I don't know. This was a neat tree. It's the same tree, but in this darker photo, that's top is the top that broke off in 38. And it's neat because it's got this, I can't even see it right now. It's got this branch growing up here. I'd love to core. It's actually on private land, so I haven't touched any private land trees, just to be clear. Only where the state told me I could on their property. But my guess is this thing grew up sometime in the last, since 1938 and since that fire. I just love these big trees. One thing I've been impressed with is it takes a long time to grow a tree. It takes a long time for a tree to die. It takes a long time for it to fall down afterwards. Just some kind of neat observations here, these yellow birches, and you're going to have to take my word for it, but they're leaning due west. They're leaning due west. So these things got knocked over by the hurricane, but they didn't die. An interesting thing, at least to me, about this is that these trees are all 20 to 22 inches in diameter. They're not 24, they're not 18, they're all 20 to 20. So there was something about the physics of the event that these were small enough that they didn't die and they didn't fall all the way over. I know it's geeky, but I thought that's cool. So fire damage. This whole area here, where this forest is here, this photo is from the same area. It's just kind of neat because when you match up those aerial photos, you can see that fire didn't take out every tree because in 1953, there's still scattered trees there. And so I have not been able to match up individual trees to the aerial photos. That would be cool. But it's just neat to see these old fire scars that have recovered. And the trees look beautiful, like nothing's happened to them. There's one property where about 20, 30 years ago, the owner decided that they would thin out the old trees, and they cut down a whole bunch of 30-inch plus yellow birches, and they're just laying on the ground. This one, for whatever reason, there's a chainsaw cut right there. They put the saw in there, and then they left it. I'm going to guess that they were scared of a rotten tree that's dangerous to cut. I'm guessing. Also, in this room yesterday, there's I can't remember his name. Is it Ken, who talked about LiDAR? I was so fascinated by that because I was thinking this is an April 2016 aerial photo. I would love to have someone say, oh, I can just write an AI thing or whatever and basically put a bunch of dots on the map so that I could go out to these. What I've been doing is I use this April 2016 imagery, And I use that to kind of figure out where do I want to go to try to find these old trees. But it's neat because you can really see them. It's also annoying because big white birches that are dying look very much like big yellow birches, to my eye anyway. So with 1 minute remaining, I'll get to the very end, which is these are areas where I've mapped different kinds of forests. So this gold, this yellowish color is basically where there's some of the what I've called old growth hardwood areas. These are dominated by yellow birches, except down here, there's a whole bunch of ash. Don't ask me which species of ash. I can get to ash. That's as good as I can do. And also big sugar maples. So something different about, I would guess, the geology of the soils in that area. All of these, I should say, are on the west side. This is mostly in a protected area that the hurricane did not knock down these trees. And this whole area is in kind of little valleys. So even though those valleys are sort of facing towards the east, I think they were just low enough that they didn't get knocked over by that hurricane. And there's no evidence that the trees have been, there's a really high density of these big trees. Like every 100 feet, there's another huge yellow birch. And their tops are broken up, but otherwise they look fine. And then I just kind of put out that these areas are white. This is mostly on spruce, very thin soil areas. That's where it really burned. And I mentioned that photo that I showed you from the 50s. That's that little finger going down. So it's cool to me. You can match up all these things using different lines of evidence. And I should say I've not walked through all this. I walked from about here through here last September, almost the same day. And you've never gone through so many orb weaving spiders in my life. It's just awful. And they itch for like 2 more weeks. So I'm not going to read all this. I put this up here because it's being recorded. It's posterity, someone can read it. But it's neat because there's some intact old growth spruce, intact old growth hardwood type forests that are up there. The hurricane and the fire made some huge changes. And I was in the little playhouse, is that what it's called? Earlier today, and they were talking about how old growth is a process. So, you might make the argument that even though all of this just got flattened and burned, maybe it's part of that, maybe not old growth, but, rewilding. And it's really neat because all of this area, let me make sure I got the right thing here. All of this area that's considered Mount Sunapee State Park, and hopefully I'm pointing at it correctly now, has just been determined by the Natural Heritage Bureau to be an exemplary natural community, so like hands off. Also, it's really hard to get there. I've hiked it enough, it's really hard to get there. No one's putting machinery out. Although I'll just mention, this property owner here about 30 years ago decided he'd do forestry by helicopter. It lasted about a year. He used to come and pick up our neighbor, David, and then I got to ask David about that. Just quick acknowledgments. Obviously, some of the people I mentioned. I want to make a big point of saying Sue and Steve and Owen down here, who have kind of like, it just got me interested in all of this stuff. Pete, and I should mention Jess and Pete from the Natural Heritage Bureau too. So thank you. Thank you.